we're trying to do is educate people, because if you look on our news, this is not covered on our daily news. If you watch CNN, World News, Fox News, whatever, it's not covered on what genetic modify is. So the public has no idea what's going on in their grocery stores, have no idea what they're eating at the fast food restaurants.
If you've done any research at all, you now know that the big commodity crops, soy, canola, and corn, not to mention sugar beets, and soon, or if not, alfalfa is a growing one. These are the crops that are largely being grown across our country as GMOs. The soy crop in the U.S. is more than 90% GMO now. I'm a musician by education and by trade. And the drummer in my band a few years back was getting food from the farm I now run. And that was the best food I'd ever eaten in my life. It made an impact on me because it tasted good, because when I ate it, I actually felt really good, energetic, and so it made me feel good inside and out, and the taste alone was enough to really surprise me that anything could be that much different than what I was used to eating. So I started researching. And in the process of that research is when you start to run up against the word Monsanto, and you start to understand a little bit more. And then through Jeff, Jeff Poppin is a local celebrity around here. He's been doing the Volunteer Gardener Show on NPT for about 14 years now. And so working for him is really good because he is already in the world of educating people about food and about farming. And so it was a natural place for me to pick up on that and to help him out with that task. And over the years, I just have done more and more research trying to figure out what's really going on. How is this whole thing working? And what is the difficulty in trying to label, for instance, which is a really important issue for a lot of us, so that we can make an informed choice. If we're in a consumer society, the best thing we have going for us is knowledge, because that's what allows us to make informed choices as consumers. So I don't even necessarily begrudge the right for them to grow their products, as long as they're willing to label them so that I can make my choices. But this hiding it from us under the guise of, oh, well, you just simply can't understand, you're too ignorant to understand, and therefore it will scare you into disliking us. That's insulting.
The most basic freedom should be the freedom to eat healthy food, to reuse seed, which is something that Monsanto does not want farmers to do. They don't want regular citizens to do. This food freedom is the basic freedom, and it has to start with food freedom, and by the way, freedom of speech, which is what you're seeing here today.
Monsanto uses RBST to, they say it's a natural hormone to make cows give more milk, and I don't use it because it burns out cows, and people don't like drinking the milk that the cows are treated with RBST.
What really scares me is the fact that the crops are stuff we're taking out, all the heirloom crops. And sooner or later, we're not going to have any corn that's natural here anymore. We are going to make a species of plant extinct on purpose.
I don't think I've ever marched for or against anything, but I felt this was a very important issue.
We don't like those GMOs, we don't like the pesticides, we don't like the DDTs, we don't like the Agent Orange. We're going to get it out of our food and out of the system, period.
I have friends whose fathers have been exposed to Agent Orange, and they still have cases that have not been settled, which makes me outraged. But as far as what they've been doing with biotech, I heard first about Roundup bombs that have been dropped on farms where perhaps wind-blown seeds had gone, and how they were starting to sue farmers and family farmers and people who were trying to grow organically and with the least amount of imprint chemically and carbon-wise. And I've always been a big fan of John Steinbeck and Woody Guthrie and people who stood up and said what they had to say in the time that they had to say it. And today was my day, and I'm glad I was able to have my son here with me to do it.
It just concerns me that people are not seeing this happening, and everyone just thinks the government is looking after them, that the FDA is doing their job. Well, the FDA doesn't do any tests, it just believes what the companies tell them. So
So that's my concern.
In my opinion, the FDA's got to go. That's what the real beast is. And Monsanto will just collapse. The minute it's not held up by government enforced, Monsanto will just collapse in on itself, and as a phenomenon, it will be over. So that's my standing on it, which is nuanced, which is hard, being at a rally where everyone's chanting no GMO and holding banned GMO signs, because I think banning GMO would result in millions of deaths worldwide. There are a lot of people who rely on GMO foods. So that's just a counter argument.
Monsanto is just the root of it all, by creating the seeds, getting them patented, and then the patent office allowing them to be permanently patented, which I think, if they want to patent them for a couple of years, that's fine, but after that, they shouldn't be allowed to. But I don't know that would be good. I just don't like the idea of a rogue element getting into the natural system. I just think it's fraught with problems which have not been tested.
Because we don't see something happening right in front of our eyes, then we don't think that's just really happening.
You know, you can't sort of use pre-crime and regulation to make sure no one ever gets sick or dies of a food. That's pursuing impossible fantasy sort of policies like that is where you accidentally fall short and create tyranny.
They do have a lot of power. They dictate how much corn, for instance, costs all over the United States. They don't want you buying corn in California and bringing it to Kentucky because it's a lot cheaper in California than Kentucky, and they're the ones that dictate the prices of that.
Say no GMO, Monsanto has got to go.
A lot of people who used to work for Monsanto get into high levels, whether you're talking about Clarence Thomas, who sits on the Supreme Court and was their lawyer at one time, or whether you talk about even the guy who's in charge of some of the FDA and things like that. These people oftentimes worked for these companies, and they seem to still be representing the company's interest, even within our government, which is supposed to represent our interests.
There's a certain thing where you pass these laws and you think it's going to accomplish the goal of punishing Monsanto, but you don't realize it punishes the family farmer as well. So I'm outright opposed to GMO bans. I'm outright opposed to forced GMO labeling, because your government's going to force your family farmer to do that, and they're going to force them to spend X amount of money on it, and then they're going to have to send an inspector over to them. The inspector's going to treat them differently because the inspector's going to be employed by Monsanto, and that family farm's going to get shut down. But I'm very, very proud of stores like Whole Foods and ethical entrepreneurs out there that are forcing companies to provide GMO labeling so that consumers can have choice.
Official count of our march today was 429 people, 6 dogs, one of which was limping, and 1 horse and a unicorn.
It's amazing that it's going on in over 400 cities, I believe, worldwide, 35 different countries. The numbers started out at maybe there'd be over 200,000 people marching. I think it's going to end up being much more. And the reason why is because people want clean food.
The problem is that they don't want to take 2 or 3 or 4 decades to test these products because they've invested so much money in them. Now, I understand that, but that doesn't make any difference in my assessment that until it's proven safe, I'd prefer not to be their guinea pig. So I've made that choice for myself. Of course, I encourage others to make that choice for themselves. I'm not trying to dictate to you. I'm not trying to hide things from you. My goal is illumination. It's transparency.
Some poor people are alive today because Walmart and McDonald's provides crappy food for them at a cheap price, and they otherwise would die. So, these are the realities of the economy that we have to kind of live in the real world of. But it's great to see that consumers who have the money and the choice can, make healthier choices and teach other people healthier lifestyles, and that we can get away from where people are having processed foods who don't need to, So, yeah, I'm for the general health. I'm all for health and good nutrition. I'm really interested in nutrition myself, but, I just hope that the hysteria doesn't result in bans, because there are people who, they just like to eat Cheetos, and they like to, eat Cheetos and be overweight and have diabetes, and that's more enjoyable to them than being healthy. And it's just really not our job to tell people that they can't live that way.
It's very difficult to tell someone who's ill to think about their food rather than going to the doctor to get. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to the doctor, but it's the food is the source of the problem. The digestion is being compromised by the GMOs, and and your immune system, which I believe is why you get so many problems with immune and digestive issues. And essentially because you can't digest the food, you have to eat more to get what little nutrients you get, and it just gets worse and worse.
It's my responsibility to know what I'm putting in my body, period.
There's so many markets now, such as Kroger, Whole Foods, that do organic produce in their grocery store. Another thing is when you're going out to restaurants, Yelp everything, meaning look for a review that tailors to their local farmers looking for grass-fed beef or organic vegetables in their food, or farm-to-the-table restaurants. Another thing is become aware, do your own research, read labels, because that's the only way. Knowledge is power.
If you can't pronounce what you're about to put into your body, you probably ought not to be putting it into your body. If you have the space in your own backyard, grow your own food. If that's not available to you, look into CSAs and community shared agriculture. It's where you can get the best, most local, freshest food for you and your family. It's important.
Demand GMO labeling. Go to your store, say consumers need to know difference. Some people don't want to eat GMO. I want it on my packages. Say it to your store. Say I'm not going to shop at stores that don't have it. That works. It really works. Stores do stuff to get money. You tell people I got money and I'm not taking it to you, I'm taking it to somebody else. Stores, that's a regulation. That's a real regulation. Take their money away.
By the year 2000, we had dipped below 2 million farms. I am happy to report, and in the last couple of years, we've risen back up to 2.2 million farms. That has everything to do with the small local farms.